welcome back you to my podcast, me to your podcast. Hi, Harry Littman.
Hey, Molly Young Fast. It is another Molly mashup, the special correspondent extraordinaire for Vanity Fair, the host of the podcast Fast Politics. So yes, we're having an unholy marriage here between Fast Politics and Talking Feds. And you know the rules now.
Now, every
She'll
other
throw
question,
something
baby.
at me, totally candid, and then I get to turn the tables on her. So why don't you start with your nerdiest, pointy-headedest legal question and see if you can stump me. I'm ready.
So Judge Cannon, this is not my nerdiest question, but this is the thing that everybody's interested in. It seems as if things have escalated with Judge Cannon and Jack Smith, right? That was sort of a back and forth, and now Jack Smith is kind of gets what a bad faith actor she is. Talk to me about where you think this case is, and more importantly, where it can go.
Yeah. So you're 100% right. This was the big move Monday night. Remember, what has she been doing? Entertaining all kinds of forcocked ideas from Trump, but also, even worse, delaying, not ruling, and the like. And that put the DOJ in a tricky position because they have a previous bad ruling by her. And if you combine it with another, that'd be a case to recuse. But she doesn't give them anything, and purposely doesn't give them anything to grab onto as a ruling. This latest thing is a perfect example. 100% bizarre idea. Let's just talk about jury instructions that based on law that doesn't exist.
Right.
Let's just talk about it, though. Engage
right.
with.
The theoretical. Yeah.
Yeah, let's have a little salon about this. And, that's not a ruling to try to reverse. And there have been different versions of this. And this time it got even more ominous because she suggested, maybe I'll just, do this at trial and the jury stage. And guess what? At trial, if she pulls this crap at trial, you can't, it's double jeopardy and you can't retry him. So that's like the perfect crime. So Jack Smith, I think people sort of sense the tone of it, but it's stronger than people are appreciating. He really drew the line this time. First, he came out and said, you're this whole Presidential Records Act, it is completely ludicrous. I'm not going to play ball with you, Judge. I'm not going to do a little jury instruction based on it because it's totally nuts. But guess what? Here's the real jury instructions. And now you, Judge, have to rule. So you've been sort of dithering around. And if you don't, so, right now he's there with like nothing to sort of grab onto. And so the move he made is rule on the Presidential Records Act. If you rule for Trump, great. We take you right up to the 11th Circuit and we try to recuse you. Rule for us? Okay, good. Move to another day. But if you keep not ruling, the M word comes into play. And it was just subtle at the end. We are going to mandamus you. It's a special writ. It is hard normally to bring, but he's setting it up.
Explain what it means.
All it means, it's a sort of all-purpose, just like mandate
It's getting
order.
You kicked off. It's getting a judge kicked off a case.
Well, there's a separate thing that is recusing. But mandamus is just going to a court of appeals and saying, just correct her. You don't, courts of appeals aren't normally very receptive to it, but he's really set the table perfectly, and they know what's going on to say, if you don't rule, we're going to do a mandamus. And they found a couple cases where it had happened. So it could be a game changer for a couple reasons. One, she could see the writing on the wall and actually rule. Not too likely. Or she could keep farting around. They could bring a motion to mandamus. If the 11th Circuit is receptive, they bounce her. And now a lot of time has passed. It's not so easy, but there's the actual chance. This case is really cut and dried, Molly. It's been the easiest one and a serious one. And there's a chance with a new judge, it could actually get back on track and be heard, say, in the summer, lead to a conviction and the like. But this is the filing. It's the most important since the indictment, where Smith is saying, we're not going to take it anymore. If you don't act like a real judge and decide things, we're going to use that very fact of not giving us anything to appeal. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. All right.
Wow. All right.
Big day.
I'm
My turn.
satisfied. Yes.
All right. You recently wrote one of your really you have a way of saying, this is not supposed to be a spooge fest, but you're just really good at making things fun, interesting, but also trenchant. And in your recent piece, Trump's Losing Touch, you say the road to Democrats having kept the Senate thus far is lined with Trump's bungled attempts to play kingmaker. Now, in the last several years, his whole inter rerum effect, as I have understood it, with Republicans who mainly behind the scenes hate his guts, have been they're terrified that he could primary them. That's his whole secret power. And now you're talking about a run of times where he is, trying to do the same, and he's losing again and again. Has he lost his magic powers here?
So one of the interesting things about Trump is that he's never been amazing at picking candidates. And part of that is because he's open to candidates. Like, one of the things that Trump did was he took over the Republican Party, right? He bullied people either with the threat of primary or with the threat of their physical safety. I mean, think about Mitt Romney had to pay all that money for extra security. And he took over. And what happened then was that he became the de facto leader of the Republican Party. And one of the things, like, you could criticize Nancy Pelosi, right? You could say she isn't lefty enough, she's this, she's that. But at the end of the day, Nancy Pelosi was very organized, right? So you wouldn't see votes come up that would fail in Rules Committee. You wouldn't see. And another thing she was really careful about was she wouldn't make her purple district Dems, who had to be up for re-election in a year or even less, she wouldn't make them vote on things she knew could be used against them in election. Now, fast forward to this Republican Party, where you have people who are blue state Republicans. You have a bunch, right, in New York and California, people like Mike Lawler, who have had to, like, Mike Lawler goes on MSNBC and says he's a sane Republican. But he's had to vote for both impeachments, right? He voted to impeach a cabinet official, the first time in more than 100 years that's happened. And it's not, and there's no, there were no high crimes and misdemeanors. They just didn't like him. And he voted to impeach Joe Biden. And again, that was a completely vibes-based impeachment. So what has happened is that
Trump... Or he voted to keep the investigation going.
Right, to open the impeachment.
Open, that's what I mean. Yeah,
right. So what you have with Trumpism is there's nobody driving the ship, right? He's in charge, but he's not really doing it. He's not driving the ship. So when you have these candidates, nobody is saying, like, this is not a good candidate for swing voters. This is not a candidate who, this candidate is an extremist candidate. And I think one of the original sins of Trumpism, one of the things that ultimately I think very likely will be his undoing, though I don't want to predict the future, is that he went way more right wing and let the party kind of control him, right? He sort of embraced the basest aspect of the party, which is not what you do, right? Usually you get elected and you try to pivot to the middle so that you can get the Democrats, so you can grow the electorate, right? And so what he never learned the lesson that you don't want to nominate the most extreme person as a candidate because voters don't like it. And so he was able to do, in ruby red states, he was able to, win with these candidates, though often they've delivered results that were below what the polling average would be, right? But he would get these people elected. But his swing candidates always, always, always failed because they were just too extreme.
This is dating back. I see. This
always.
Is a new phenomenon.
He has never, from Roy Moore, right, in Alabama. The man turned an Alabama Senate seat blue, right? He has never been a good candidate picker. Like, the one time he ever picked anyone who was a winner was Mike Pence, who helped him win. But otherwise, everyone else has just been a disaster. And, a lot of times he's just endorsed people to get his numbers to be better. He's endorsed, like, people who were running for re-election. But ultimately, he's a very bad candidate picker. And, why shouldn't he be? He doesn't have any, he's only been in politics since 2015.
And I mean, he just picks based on petty personal things, not any kind of political calculation.
If you suck up to him, he likes you. It's an easy calculus. Yeah. So the Supreme Court right now is looking at this idea of presidential immunity, which is, as we all know, completely silly and not, can seal Team 6 murder your political opponent. Yes, because their crimes aren't crimes if you're president. There is no world in which any of this flies. So why is it taking so long? So obviously Alito and Thomas are all in on this, but what do you think the timetable is on this? Are they going to try to keep it going till June? What do you think this happens? And also, people who are trying to pretend to be real justices, like Justice Kavanaugh Kegstand, I mean, he must be pretty pissed too, in a certain way. So let's talk it through with
that part. All right. Great question. And you're right. There is no world in which Donald Trump at the end of the day gets a ruling from the Supreme Court or any court that says he's out of jail free because his actions are covered by presidential immunity.
Right. So it's not how any of this works. Right.
It's not there's no world in which that happens. But of course, Trump always operates on two levels: a delay level, maybe the most important, and then the merits. He will not win the merits, but delay is everything, especially for him. This is a federal case, and I think all your listeners know this, but all that has to happen if he wins, he just tells the DOJ, oh, that little prosecution, drop it. So the thing about immunity that from day one has always been so worrisome is it's a right not to stand trial in the first place, and as a result, when a trial court rules against you, you can make an immediate appeal. Almost everything else, you have to go to trial, be convicted, go through it, and then make all your claims. But immunity is special. Okay, so we've known that, and he played his cards on immunity and got a pretty good delay out of Chutkan, but a really excellent opinion by the DC Circuit. It might have been the end of it there. And so now here comes the U.S. Supreme Court.
People.
First, they took 2 weeks to decide so some shit was going on there, and we'll eventually find that out. But the big question is, here's the concrete risk, and it's not small to me, Molly, that they decide, they have to look out for not just the case, but the principle that they set down. Let's say they think, all right, Trump, of course, but there could be a situation, a president bombs Cambodia and, he gets sued criminally. There could be a situation where we want to hold that the Constitution prohibits a criminal charges against the president. All they have to do is enunciate some test like that. And what happens is it goes back for a remand. Judge Chutkan takes an hour and a half to say it doesn't apply to Trump. But then Trump gets another trip up and down. All right. So let's talk about the court.
Could that really
that's
happen?
Fucked. 100%. That's a risk that I think is more than 50%. So now let's talk about the court. They can do things quickly. Remember, they just in the Colorado case, the insurrection case, they made a point of issuing the opinion on the Monday before Super Tuesday, so people would know. You might have thought that they here would do the same thing because we really want to have a trial, even if you're pro-Trump. The value to the American people of having a trial so people know the results when they go to the polls. As best I can tell, that factor matters to the court zero. I think the court has decided that's not our lookout. We're going to take our, regular time. They could have made the argument earlier. Instead, they put it on the last day of the term where there was one slot. You got to imagine there's more than one opinion. So in other words, the earliest this comes out is like early June. And then, if it comes out early June and it's just affirming totally the DC Circuit, now Chutkan's back in business. But if it comes out early June and it states any test, any test where sometimes the president can be immune. Now we have the extra little, road trip for Trump of back down and back up. And
that
man, it
waits
looks
till
very remote.
September.
Yeah. So now we're looking at, I think, let's say, I think even without that little extra trip, it's sort of September. So it might just blow it out of the water. Let's say it is September by the time, because remember, when it goes back to Chutkan, she's still got some business to do. He's still got to write this Trump to raise some things. So now it's September. Wow. And we're so this most serious of all trials, with him having to be in the seat in the home stretch, he's gonna say to the Supreme Court, you've got to not let that's gonna be a real. But we should have such problems, because that is right now the best case scenario, and a likely one I'm really afraid of is there's another round of a remand and September doesn't even happen. Okay.
Wow.
Oh, we're on time. If we go quick, my turn. Florida, which I grew up with always thinking Florida, the crazy place that decides elections. And then, so when this week, the Florida Supreme Court, out of the blue, on the one hand, kind of paves the way for a 6-week ban. They just say it's the 18-week, but I won't go into that's not your part of it. So it could be 6 weeks. But on the other, green light that initiative, which is a pro-choice initiative. So there's going to be such focus. And over the last 2 cycles, the issue has always played to the Democrats' advantage. But Florida is not your 2000 Florida, which is on a knife's edge. Florida is more red than that. So do you see any state of affairs in which the whole abortion thing actually puts in play in terms of winning or losing in the presidential election, the great state of Florida?
So I don't know that this is. So I'm going to add something to your question, which is one of the things that this Supreme Court did was they said that now the 6-week abortion ban can go into action. And that is, I think, actually a really important data point, because Florida has always been a state with pretty lax abortion laws for the South. Yeah. And the people of Florida have never had the experience of being really a place where you can't get an abortion. So now you have Florida doctors who are now going to have to, Florida OBGYNs who are going to have to practice OBGYN care, maternal fetal health care, as if they're in the state of Louisiana or Texas. And what that's going to mean is going to be a real sea change, because we've already seen this happen in the states that banned abortion. It means that it is more dangerous it will be in 30 days more dangerous to be a pregnant woman in Florida than it is in Connecticut or New York or Rhode Island or Vermont. Because if you're a pregnant woman in Florida, your doctor is always thinking, I could go to jail for this. Yeah. I could lose my license for this. I could be fined $100,000 for this. Maybe Ron DeSantis, who we already know is kind of a loose cannon, wants to make this Miami gynecologist an example. So already you're going to have doctors practicing defensive medicine. And one of the things I would say that I don't think we spend enough time talking about when we talk about choice in reproductive health care is that pregnant women who are not necessarily pro-choice, who have never, people who are, Republicans who never wanted to get an abortion, who never thought you should have the legal right to get abortions, don't necessarily realize how much their pregnancy care changes now that now that doctors are worried about getting arrested. So you're going to see firsthand from next month will be May. You're going to see from
May.
from May to November, you're going to see the state of Florida as an abortion desert. So when those voters come to vote on those ballot initiatives, they're going to know really what they're voting for. And I think that is a really important data point. And historically, we have seen that when people experience losing that right, they understand why it's so important. So I do think that'll be a big deal. Will Democrats win Florida? I think that Republicans, it doesn't matter. What matters is Republicans are now worried that Florida might be in play. This changes the map, right? And so
and the money, right? Money, right?
And it's a very expensive media market, Florida. And you've got Trump running defense in a state he thought would be a cakewalk. And so I think it's going to be, and remember, Florida is like the first time ever Florida population is going down now, right? People are leaving the state because of inflation, because they have such bad inflationary pressures when it comes to insurance and inflation and the cost of goods and housing. So I actually think it's going to be a real problem. And will a Democrat win Florida? Most pundits would say absolutely not. But again, we don't really know, right? We're basing all of this on polls, right? We're not basing and maybe these polls are all totally correct, but there certainly has been a lot of crosstab volatility there.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. And it's not just, of course, the presidency. There's guys like Rick Scott, et cetera. All right, we're down to 5 minutes, and we've each had 2 rounds, and Jesse is very strict. I think we only have one question left.
What case is the case that you think might surprise us of the Trump cases? Or is there like a sleeper case, like the case with the California bar? I mean, do you think there's a case that might sort of move the needle that we are not even looking out for?
Right. So I'll just say the legal needle and the political needle, because we've had different cases where judges have found, he basically is guilty as sin, but not in the criminal context. And what you just named, the Eastman and Jeff Clark disciplinary proceedings have that, including it was a really big thing. We got a preview of the what's going to be a killer witness in the January 6th trial. The Ramrod Strait, Pat Philbin, Pat Cipollone, White House counsel folks who were somewhat kept their mouths, invoked executive privilege in the January 6th committee, but they won't at trial. So that stuff is going to be killer. They'll also, Hope Hicks, I think, is going to be killer in this upcoming trial. In other words, there are trials that could be sleepers, but I think the real point is most of everything we've heard so far has been argument and people kind of, screaming at each other. But there's going to be these pristine, crystalline moments of testimony where what the hell is he going to say about that? I mean, these are witnesses from hell for him. Molly, I just want to say thanks. These are really fun. They're fast moving, but I love the kind of, I got it. Your politics partakes of law. My law partakes of politics. That's just the year we are living in and the weird constitutional moment. So it's a pleasure to be able to mix and match with you. And I hope to keep doing it as we go down the stretch of this most consequential year.
Yes, me too. Thank you so much, Harry Lippman.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.